Well, I was born in 1930, so I was a child. We lived very frugally. My father was a school teacher, and there were 5 children in the family.
Today, more than 59% of Americans believe the American dream, the idea that regardless of background, every American has the opportunity to blaze a unique path and achieve his or her dreams, is no longer attainable. Without economic prosperity, the promise of success has disappeared. And yet, there was once a time when Americans saw a vast future filled with wealth, power, success, the joys of young love, an education, and family and home to fall back on. But despite it all, the nation thrived. The Roaring '20s marked an unprecedented period of hope in American society. It was the economy that sparked the period's prosperity. A decade of wartime recovery, postponed spending, widespread construction, and rapid growth in consumer goods such as automobiles and radios, the 1920s amplified America's standing as the richest country in the world. Innovative technologies flooded the market, and being affordable for the middle class, the radio, television, automobile, and electrical industries skyrocketed. But it was the film industry that marked some of the most significant progress in history. Films transcended from silent, colorless pictures to vibrant, colorful talkies. As Americans rushed to theaters to see Walt Disney's cartoon shorts, national celebrities such as Charlie Chaplin and Rudolph Valentino emerged, increasing the appeal of the feature film. With the introduction of sound, the jazz singer initiated a period of musicals and dramatically changed Hollywood's approach to filmmaking, as production companies such as Fox Studios and Warner Brothers quickly became more dependent on dialogue and visual element.
With the passing of the 18th Amendment banning the manufacture, sale, and possession of alcohol, Prohibition began in 1920 and lasted for 13 years. During this period, speakeasies replaced neighborhood saloons, and by 1925 there were over 100,000 speakeasies in New York City alone, mostly owned by gangsters. Mob bosses opened nightclubs featuring live music and dancing. So many speakeasies sold illegal alcohol that New York was known as the city on a still. Prohibition dissolved many traditional social barriers, as the rich, the poor, men, and women all ventured to speakeasies to have a good time. During this time, more Americans violated federal law than ever before. This spirit of rebellion and liberation fueled the era of jazz and flappers. Many people blamed society's movement away from traditional culture on the rise of jazz. An article in the August 1921 edition of the Ladies' Home Journal posed the question, does jazz put the sin in syncopation?
New Orleans had a great tradition of celebration. Opera, military marching bands, folk music, the blues, different types of church music, ragtime, echoes of traditional African drumming, and all of the dance styles that went with this music could be heard and seen throughout the city. When all of these kinds of music blended into one, jazz was born. Winston Marsalis.
New Orleans was the birthplace of jazz. Once the phonograph, radio, and record player became affordable to average Americans, music became more accessible than ever. Jazz incorporated elements of improvisation and scat, a difficult vocal technique made popular by Louis Armstrong, in which singers used their voices as an instrument to sing nonsense syllables and improvise melodies and rhythms.
In the aftermath of the Second World War, other significant advancements were made in American society. Having filled jobs previously deemed inappropriate for women during the war, women began to fight for equal rights. As the beloved Zelda Fitzgerald once said,
"By the time a person has achieved years adequate for choosing a direction, the die is cast, and the moment has long since passed which determined the future."
During this period, society was just beginning to understand that women might be independent citizens capable of making their own decisions. Women's voting rights were expanded across the world, and women in the National Women's Party advocated for the 19th Amendment and the Equal Rights Act. The American woman, who wanted to marry, stay at home with her children cooking and cleaning, and exercise her purchasing power freely and as frequently as possible to better her family and home, rapidly transformed into the flapper of the 1920s. The flappers introduced a new era of American society and redefined a modern woman's American dream. As women became fed up with old society's strict rules, they flaunted their disdain for what was then considered acceptable behavior.
The young women who were flappers were all about individuality, freedom, and personal liberty. They wanted to be able to make decisions for themselves, such as finding a partner, choosing a career, their sexuality, and their destiny. This was a big move for women because before this, women were conservative and were obedient to what was ordered of them. This was their chance to break free.
The Flappers smoked, drank, partied, and enjoyed life. They were done with the old ways of life and ready for the new. By the 1930s, the societal change set in motion by the Flappers progressed, propelling women away from traditional domestic roles. But the lavish and opulent lifestyle of the 1920s ended quickly on October 29, 1929, when the stock market lost nearly $30 billion in just 2 days, plummeting America into a 10-year depression. The American dream drastically transformed, away from the extravagant materialism towards more practical aspirations.
My American dream was to go to college, get an education, graduate, find a job, and make some money. And then, of course, added to that, maybe find a husband and have children and have a home, except I'm single now.